That I think this is probably the best way to make your first movie. I think when you're doing it with a group of people that kind of know what they're doing, so that they can support you, and also people that you're familiar with, so that if you ask them to, oh, there's gonna be a scene where you have to lay on the ground in the middle of winter and be cold or whatever, or there's a scene where one of our actors is just sitting in the cold for what felt like an hour and a half, and he never complained. And I feel like having a small group of collaborators for your first movie, where you're trying to figure out how everything works and to do it as best as you can, I think is, I mean, he will tell you, but I think it's probably the best way of learning how to do your first movie. I think because now, like the things you learn from just messing up, or just like things that went wrong because of that reason, I think you won't repeat them on the second go, and it was in a comfortable environment, I think.
Yeah, I would definitely second that. Hans is absolutely right. There's a benefit to working with people that you know beforehand. I know a lot of people get started working with their friends and their family, and I think that's a good approach to get your first one done. But you also don't want to get stuck in that, because you can see people who did do that and they continue to do that, and they don't really level up because they can't find a challenge in other things. That's not to say you got to stop working with people you're familiar with. I think there's an opportunity for growth, and then you can bring these people back into the fold and start to integrate and help them level up as well. I did that. But also I wanted to add too, earlier when you asked, since you noted that you had also directed and acted in a short film, a lot of that is just the choice to act in it is maybe a little bit out of ego. Maybe I like being the leading man of my own movie. But there's also the necessity aspect of, okay, I don't have to hit somebody up if I got to reshoot this scene, or if I have a new idea in my head. Well, I'm the guy. So being able to do that was especially clutch with this film, where it evolved so much in the edit, and I handled it more like writing a novel than I did handling a feature film, which is not how you should do a movie. And that's also why it took 4 years. But at the same time, it saved the film and made it a much better version of itself. And I'll say, I worked on a series that I co-created called Omega Fish Corp last year. And it was the first time that I directed something, or in this case, I co-directed it with a man named Matthew Giacalone, who goes by GMAC online. He's a very funny comedian. And it was the first time that I directed something where I wasn't the cinematographer and I wasn't basically doubling his crew. I was acting, but I was also directing. And so I got familiar with new equipment and new things to edit with, and it expedited the process of finishing Mass State Lottery. And so that was a very beneficial step I had to basically go through in order to make sure that this movie was going to be as good as possible. So that's absolutely true in the case. Is you can, you can explore some other terrain and bring it back to the project you've been working on, and it's going to improve because of it.
Yeah, not everything has to be like your fucking passion project. Like sometimes you just got to do other shit, like other like gigs and shit for money and for like experience, like with stuff. Like not everything has to be like a giant passion project.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you look back at Jackie Chan's Police Story 1 and 2. It took them like years to make those movies because they were doing them on their own. They didn't have stunt doubles or anything. So if someone's falling from like a shopping mall escalator and they break their leg, all right, well then production's paused for 3 weeks or 4, whatever,
Yeah, or if someone has to smoke a cigarette within a minute and they don't smoke, and the production has to stop for an hour so that they can recover, they can do that too.
Yeah, this is what happened with Hans during the second shoot. Hans, I told him, listen, all you got to do, we're shooting in slow motion. It's gonna be high frame rate, right? Just take a long drag of the cigarette, and that's it. And Hans like inhaled the whole cigarette in a, he did that, and it just burnt, and then he was sick for an hour after. He was heaving in the backseat of a car.
He felt, he probably had like he felt like he had like too much McDonald's and got the acid reflux in there, and like your whole body feels like fucking like acid and shit.
I was sweating cold. I was salivating, and it was the middle of winter too.
That
so
was fucking
just awful, just horrible. And the worst part is that because I think I was the only one in that whole crew that didn't smoke. because I kept getting people coming up to me just being like, okay, dude. And I was like, no, like I still feel like shit. And it's like, all right, like we understand. It's like, no, I'm still over here like dizzy and shit. But yeah, that's part of the good things about having your buddies work with you, or they can just complain and just abuse them like that, right?
Yeah. You know, you had asked earlier too how Hans had managed, you know, being in front of the camera, behind the camera. I'd say Hans's biggest asset as a producer on the film is being able to give a no bullshit, clear cut analysis of what's working and what's not working. Hans was definitely the closest confidant I had in sharpening the film up in post-production, and also sifting through things during the principal photography phase.
So yeah,
you can. Well, I think that's the one of the benefits that I think you lose when you start getting people around you that only agree with you, which is that critical point of like, well, because especially with something that I've been working on for almost 5 years now, like he has been editing this thing for so long that there's going to be things that he doesn't see, or things that maybe he thinks work or are evident, but for the viewer wouldn't be, because they haven't been editing the movie for a long time. So you kind of have to be for the better of the movie that way. But at the same time, like, I don't think at any point there was anything that terrible, you know, like at no point there was anything that was like bad quality or anything. It was just things that didn't work for one reason or another. But it's not like I was, you know, just telling you that something fucking sucks or anything like that. You know, it was just like little tweaks or little things that we needed to fix. But yeah, but you kind of need that, you know, if you want to make the best project possible. Because if you just have people that are going to agree with you, then you'll make a movie for yourself, and then no one else would be able to enjoy it, really. Which is not bad, I guess. But for, I think, a project like this, where it's like your first project and you want to have a best image possible out there, like this is probably the best way to do it, just with like constructive criticism like that.